All right. So today I will be ranking all 128 men's tennis players at the 2026 Australian Open based on their performance and who they played. Relatively, I probably give 70% emphasis on how they played and 30% of emphasis who they played. And of course, there is definitely a mix between the two of them. Did they play well against bad players, or did they play really good against really good players? All right. So without further ado, the 128th and last ranked player in the Australian Open, sadly, is Alexander Vukic, fellow Australian, losing in straight sets to Tirante. 127th, Adrian Manarino, straight set to Hijikata. Daniel Altmaier, bagel tiebreaker, losing to Cilic, 126th ranked. 125th, Alejandro Tabilo, losing in straight sets, forcing that tiebreaker in the third to Quentin Halys. Flavio Caboli, 20 seed in the tournament, 124th ranked. He lost to Ferry in the first round in straight sets. Very disappointing for Flavio. He was dealing with some illness, some stomach illness. Feel for him, but it was still disappointing for Flavio. I should say Flavio. I don't know why it says Flavio. Should be Flavio, but 123rd. Carlos Taberner. Straight sets to Sonego, 123rd. 122nd, not Francisco Cerundolo. His brother won the first set against Jordan Thompson, lost the second, third, and the fourth, only winning two games in the third and the fourth combined, leaving him 122nd. 121st, Mackenzie McDonald, straight sets to Demonar. 120th, Liam Draxel, straight sets to Zumar, including a bagel in that second set. 119th, Roberto Bautista Agut, losing to Jerry Shang, tiebreaker, winning that tiebreaker in the second, getting bageled in the fourth, leaves him 119th. 118th, Filip Misolic, straight sets to Davidovich Fokina. 117th, Bellucci, straight sets to Rude. 116th, Talon Greek Sport, 23 seed, straight sets, Ethan Quinn. Ethan Quinn dominated this match. 116th, no surprise for Greek Sport. Nikolai Budkov-Kjer. There was some hype going into the tournament for him, youngster ATP next gen player. But got straight sets by Opelka. I think it was just, bad matchup. Wasn't really able to get into the match against the big righty. 114th, Grigor Dimitrov, very low on the list. I believe this is his first match that he lost at a Grand Slam in like over a year. I think he had the last at least four, I believe, were all retirements. So, at least he was healthy and played in this match. Tough first round draw against Makic, leading him to come in 114th in the Australian Open. 113th, Mariano Navone, lost to Medjedovic, did win that second set in the breaker. 120th, Camilo Ugo Carabelli, not his preferred surface, lost to Grand Slam. Um, very competitive five setter and five set player in Marton Fucsovics. I feel he's always in five sets, five setters, but this one didn't go five sets, only went three in straights. Camilo, 112th. 111, Martin Dam, straight sets, very symmetrical one, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 to Valentin Vachereau. 110th, Terrence Ottman, five setter, first guy to win two sets on this list. Won one of those in a tiebreaker. Five setter to Maestrelli. 110th for Atman. 109, Ugo Gaston. Why is he ranked 109th? It's because he faced Jannik Sinner. Not really to do with anything about how he played. He did win three games against Jannik Sinner, so there's something. He's 109th. 108th is Boo, who lost in straight sets to Shapovalov. Alexander Kovacevic. I thought this match would be a little more competitive. It wasn't. Tommy Paul in straights. Kovacevic 107. 106, Pedro Martinez. Djokovic got him in straights, 106th. 105th, Gael Monfils won that first set, wasn't able to get it done against the local lad, Dane Sweeney. Matteo Arnaldi, again, another one I thought was going to be a little bit more competitive, but Rublev got him, 104th for Arnaldi. Ymer getting 103rd, winning that first set against Shevchenko, wasn't able to get it done, 103rd for him. Mochizuki won that first set against Tsitsipas, but Tsitsipas figured out a way to get the match. Yuri Hechka, the 17th seed in the tournament. He's going to be ranked 101st due to his loss to Arthur Gia. Not too sure, Gea? Not too sure how to pronounce that name. A player I didn't really know anything about before the tournament. I suppose he's been playing good in the challenger ranks as of late, and excited to see how he does. But yeah, Lachka, very disappointing. He was, dealing with some injury stuff. Would like to point that out, but very disappointing. He's someone that should be in the top 30 of this ranking for sure, especially at the Australian Open, an event he's had success with in the past. But alas. 100th Alexander Blocks. This was another one. Blocks gets through in qualifying. I'm pretty sure he was a lucky loser. I'm not 100% sure, but ends up being 100th. Um, and then lost to the Portuguese man, Faria. Yeah, just a match I just kind of expected Blocks to win, for his tough opponent, but yeah, wasn't good enough. 99th, Tristan Schoolkate against Mukte, straight sets, he's 99th. Arthur Rinderknecht, 24 seed in the tournament, losing to Fabian Marozsan. Tough first round match against Marozsan. Good player in Marozsan, especially on the hard courts. And yeah, and just wasn't able to get it done. 98, disappointing for Rinderknecht. Interesting to see how his ranking progresses throughout the season after that final in Shanghai. 97th, Christopher O'Connell. Um, this is the wrong match. Well, this is probably a challenger match he played in. That's a shame. Well, he did end up losing to Jacquet in a challenger match, possibly. Let's see real quick what that was. So that was Challenger Manama, which is in Bahrain. Okay. Lost up. Jacquet ended up winning that entire challenger, so good for him. But in terms of the Australian Open, O'Connell lost a five-setter to Nishish Basavaredi, um, leaving him 97th. Even though it was a competitive match, went to two tiebreakers. Basavaredi isn't exactly the most highly ranked player in the world, leaving him 97th. Jason Kubler, 96th, straight sets to Francis Tiafoe. Patrick Kipson lost to Coleman Sana, won the fourth set, leaves him 95th ranked. João Fonseca, 94th ranked, very disappointing tournament for João. 28 seed in the tournament. Did have a tough first round match in Elliot Spizzirri. One of those matches that when you look at it with in hindsight, especially with how Spizzirri played the rest of the tournament and how he played against Sinner specifically, makes the result a little bit more justifiable. Fonseca didn't look fully 100% healthy though. Jan-Lennard Struff five-setter versus Kopriva. This is a match that, Kopriva Struff, whoever wins that, you're not really expecting them to go that far in the Australian Open. So good for the guy that won in Kopriva and disappointing for Struff, leaving him 93rd. Laszlo Djere won that first sentence stand, but then Stan the man just turned it on that second, third, and fourth and knocked him out, leaving him 92nd ranked. Jenson Brooksby 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 against Bublik. Bublik, routine for him, leaving Jenson Brooksby 91st. Luca Nardi against Yibing Wu. Yibing Wu ended up winning 3 of 4 sets, leaving Luca Nardi 90th. Zizou Bergs, this was one of my most anticipated first round matchups. Zizou Bergs, Hubert Hurkacz. Zizou Bergs had been playing so well in the United Cup and in the lead up to the Australian Open. And wins that first set in a break, lose the second set in a break. We'll call it a even, we'll call it a wash, and then isn't able to get that second or that third or that fourth set. Disappointing for Bergs. I think if he had a different draw, he could have been a factor in this tournament. Maybe a second week type of player, around a 16 guy. Sadly, he faced Hurkacz in the first. And Sebastian Cord at 88th. Uh, that loss to Zhang. I don't really got too much to say about this court. It's just been kind of like plateauing recently, and Zhang is on the up. I'll tell you that much. So leaving court 88th. 87th is Triple Z, Big Z, against Francisco Cerundolo. Lost in straights, four-set tiebreaker in the second, leaving him 87th. Christian Garin, 86th. Losing in straights to Luciano Darderi, keeping the first, second, and the third quite competitive. Gabriel Diallo ended up, uh, winning that first set. We thought, oh, could he pull the upset against Zverev? Didn't happen. Did play very well in the first set. Just didn't play as well as he did in the first set, in the second, third, and fourth sets, and leaves him 85th ranked. 84th, Brandon Nakashima, 27 seed. This was if I remember correctly, yeah. So it says this was a Sunday match. This was a match that kind of just like went under the radar. I don't remember like seeing much about this. Disappointing for Nakashima. A player that is known for his consistency. Losing to Botic van der Zandschulp, good player. Two tiebreakers in it. 84th for Nakashima is disappointing, but yeah, 83rd. Now this match when ESPN Plus, you know, didn't allow us to watch on that first. It was that first Saturday when ESPN Plus didn't allow us to watch. Who was playing at that time? Was it Felix Nuno Borges? Maybe was that? I feel it was someone else playing. But anyway, when we weren't able to watch the big matches on Margaret Court or on Rod Laver Arena, and you know what you had to turn to? You had to turn to Miomir Kecmanovic versus Tomas Martin Echeverry in a five-set, just absolute battle. This was a sneaky, fantastic match in the tournament. Five-setter. Etch got it done. Both players played pretty well. Etch looked really, really good in this match, though. So yeah, Miomir gets 83rd. Kirian Jaquet, we already talked about him previously. He loses a five setter and then it wins a challenger in Bahrain. Good for the kid. Emiliano Nava gets him in that fifth set tiebreaker. Not much else to say about that. Good showing from Jaquet, but not enough to get him any higher than 82nd. 81st, Benjamin Bonzi. Bagels in the first, was thinking up, could this get ugly? Goes on, wins second and the third, Bonzi. Just a player that I feel like none of the C's want to play because he can just turn it on, whenever he wants to. Nor was able to get the fourth and the fifth and able to take care of business. But Benjamin Bonzi, 81st ranks. Rai Sakamoto. This was another match that I had anticipation for because it's two youngsters, Rafael Yodar against Sakamoto. Was able to catch a little bit of this match. Yodar looked good. It was good to see Sakamoto, come back in the third and the fourth, at least 80th, which is all in all, out of all the players to be said so far, not too bad of a showing for Rai Sakamoto. Zachary Svajda is 79th. Yannick Hanfmann got him in four sets. 78th, Jesper de Jong kept that first set pretty competitive, kept that third set competitive against Medvedev. This was a match I remember going into it. You were a little nervous because it'd been a while since Medvedev had won a major, a match at a major against a top, even I think it was 200, 300 opponent. So Medvedev got it done. But yeah, Jesper Young played competitively, 78th. 77th, Dino Prismic played a grueling five-setter. Looked good against good old James Duckworth. Wasn't able to get it done down under. Valentin Royer lost to Fritz in four. Kept the first set competitive, kept the first two sets, made it a match, but then Fritz turned it on in the third and the fourth. Uh, Peji Pericard losing in a five-setter to Sebastian Baez, who'd been playing great tennis. That's kind of what leaves him 75th in the ranking. Jacob Fernley forced two tiebreakers, lost them both, also forced 12 games in the second set, leaves him 74th with the first round loss to Kamil Majak. 73rd will be Alexei Popyrin. Now, this was a true battle five-setter. Went to a tiebreaker. Popyrin wins one of the two tiebreakers in either the fourth or the fifth. He wins the match, isn't able to get it done. Disappointing for Popyrin. He was someone that I thought could be dangerous in the draw. And he's always someone that could spring an upset. I think Popyrin is, I think Popyrin's quite a good player on his day. Obviously, he is. I mean, he's a Masters champion because of that. But he's always someone that you have to be careful with. And a good match against high ranked Mula. 72nd, Alex Michelson, forced this match to go five. Good effort against Karen Khachanov. Leaves him 72nd in the rankings. 71st is going to be Felix Auger-Aliassime. Took care of business in the first. Ended up cramping, I believe, was the reason for the retirement. in that third set. Just because he was cramping though doesn't mean he was necessarily going to lose because of it. Borges played well, especially in that second set, and then parlayed that with the third set. Felix 71st didn't end up actually losing the match. Didn't end up losing three sets in the match, but ended up not moving on to the next round. Seventh's going to be Ugo Humbert. This match was competitive. Like the rallies were competitive, but Sheldon just had was just one stair above him on the steps and was able to figure it out. And always had him at arm's length. But yeah, leaves Ugo Humbert 70th. 69th is going to be Sverchina of the Czech Republic. And five setter against Jaume Munar, who had been playing well leading up to the tournament. Tends to play well on the fast, hard courts. Brought him to five sets. One of them was a tiebreaker, but it leaves him 69th ranked. Adam Walton, 68th ranked. This is really just because he brought the eventual champion Carlos Alcaraz to a tiebreaker in the second set. Got to give props to that. 67th, Marcos Giron, really played Lerner Tien very well and won the first four sets. He won six games in those four sets. And then kind of just disappeared in the fifth, ran out of gas, ran out of fuel a little bit. He really could have won this match and played very well for most of it. 66 and we Rafael Collignon. We'll never know truly how this match would have ended. Played very well in the beginning in the first set. Second set forced a tiebreaker against Musetti, who ended up playing a fantastic tournament. But in the end was not able to get it done and ended up having to retire. And then 65th and the highest ranked first round loser is going to be Pablo Carreño Busta, who played a very, very competitive match against Jakub Mensik. Jakub Mensik really had to work for this one. Had to win a tiebreaker in the fourth, was able to get it done. Carreño Busta played well in this one, just not well enough to win, but well enough to be the highest ranked player that did not win a match. 64th. So these are going to be players that won at least one match from here on out. First is going to be Nishish Basavireddy, five setter in the first versus O'Connell, and then straight sets versus Kashanov, 64th. 63rd, Yodar. I was curious about this Mensik Yodar match was going to be any more competitive. It really was. It Mensik kind of kept him at arm's length, able to get the win. 62nd, Alexander Shevchenko took care of Yimmer in the first in pretty routine business, but then Tien got him, especially in that third and the fourth set with the only winning one and zero games in those sets. 61st is going to be Dane Sweeney. Dane Sweeney played a very fun game. That game against Gael Monfils was such a fun match, fun brand of tennis, but was not able to get done versus Ben Shelton. Was able to just overpower Dane Sweeney. 60th, another Aussie, James Duckworth, had Sinner in the second round. Tough draw, after the first round battle against Prismic, but wasn't really able to really do anything against Jannik Sinner. Kamil Majak is 59th. He could win against Fernley in the first. Lost in straight to Marajan, who played well this tournament, leaving him 59th. Michael Zhang. This was a match I thought was going to be, I thought it was going to be a good match against him against Mute. He ended up having to retire. Zhang did. Mute probably had the match anyway at that point, but very excited to see what Zhang can do in the future. Two-time um, college national champion and individual. So very, very exciting to see how he does in the future. Jaume Munar, a little bit disappointed to see him 57th. He'd been playing pretty well leading up in the tournament and ended up losing in straight sets to Casper Ruud. I know a lot of people were thinking that Munar was going to get maybe one, maybe two sets, maybe even win the match against Ruud, who was on upset alert, but was not able to get it done. So leaving 57th. 56, Francesco Maestrelli. Good for him to be 56. Faced Djokovic in the second, wasn't able to get any further, but good for him to get that win in the Grand Slam first round. Damir Dzumhur, dominating first round performance, and then Cerundolo got him. Really, really routine for him, for Cerundolo. Leaving 55th. Hubert Hurkacz, disappointing second round. Played Ethan. Hurkacz didn't play great this match, but Ethan Quinn played phenomenally. So I'm going to give the credit more to Ethan Quinn. Hurkacz could have done more in the match, but tough to go from Burks to Quinn first two rounds of the majors, and yeah, so he was in 54th. 53rd, Jerry Shang. Good win against Bautista Agut in the second set. Sorry, second round against Shang. Wasn't able to get it done, leaves him 53rd. Yiming Wu uh, got, defeated Nardi in the first, and then Spitzeri got him. This was a very competitive match against Spitzeri. Um, but Spitzeri ended up, holding his nerve. Spitzeri Yiming Wu was really playing very aggressive this match, and but Spitzeri was able to handle the aggressive play of Yiming Wu and ended up winning the match. Leaves Yiming Wu 52nd, not too bad. Vit Kopriva, 51st, not too bad for him. First round battle, second round, Fritz got him, took that third set to a breaker, 51st, and now we head to the top 50. And that'll be 21st seed Denis Shapovalov. So Dennis took care of his business in the first round, and then in that second round, Marin Cilic and Straits, very impressive performance for Marin Cilic to get the win. Emilio Nava defeated Jaquets, but then was not able to defeat Cameron Norrie in the second round, losing 49th. Francisco Comensana, how about that? Coming to 48th. Defeats Kipson in the first, faces another American, gets a set against Tiafoe in that third, but isn't able to get the match, losing 48th ranked. 47th is Yannick Hanfmann. Good win against Faja in the first round, second round. Played Alcaraz actually very, very competitive in that first set. Was very close to winning that set. Wasn't able to get it done. And then Alcaraz kind of turned on the afterburners and reached another gear and was able to take care of business against Hanfmann. But still, Hanfmann 47th, not too bad. 46, Jaume Faria. Another one that, 46 for him ain't bad. Got that win against Blocks, good win, and won a set against Rublev. Wasn't able to get it done, but played a relatively competitive match in that, losing 46th. 45th, this is a little bit disappointing because Bias was playing so well in the lead up in this for this tournament. Sebastian Baez ends up being ranked 45th against a 5-7 against Pericard. That's one that, like, look, it went 5 sets, but whenever you're playing Pericard, it's big server. Those matches are always a little bit of a wild card because he can take the racket away from you. And then second round, against Darderi, a player that hasn't had too much success on hard courts. Not that Baez like has that much success either, but he has more than Darderi, I'll tell you that much, especially recently. I thought this was going to be a very good opportunity for Baez. I thought his draw was kind of opening up for him to go kind of far. Wasn't the case. Ended up losing to Darderi, leaving him 45th in the rankings. Next, 44th in the rankings is Hamad Medjedovic, who defeated Navone in the first and then lost in the second round to Alex de Minaur. He ended up getting that first set against de Minaur, which is quite impressive. And then the Demon kind of locked in for the second, third, and fourth sets, leaving Medjedovic 44th in the rankings. 43rd is Alexandre Mula. Had that good win, good battle against Popperin in the first, and then, made the second round match a little bit competitive, got that second set, but, Zverev really was able to lock in and figure out this match. But not too bad for Mueller, 43rd. Arthur Ferry, this was a match, a sneaky second round match that I was actually really excited for because I thought they both, Ferry and Etcheverry, played very well in the first round. And Etcheverry kind of just steamrolled in the second round, leaving Arthur Ferry 42nd in the ranking. Lorenzo Sonego, this was another popular pick for people to have the upset with Sonego over Musetti. Sonego has, he made I believe, either the quarterfinal or round of 16 at the Australian Open last year. And Musetti hard courts, up to this tournament really weren't his strongest. Or they're definitely not strongest court, obviously. But if you would have ranked Musetti's game grass, clay, hard court, you put hard court less. So there was some rationale to that, but in the end, he wasn't able to get it done. And Musetti won in straights. Very impressive for Musetti. Arthur 40th for Arthur Gia. Defeated Lehechka in the first, very impressive match. And then, in one of the matches of the tournament, genuinely against Stan Wawrinka, 5-setter, went to a fifth set tiebreaker against Stan the Man. Wasn't able to get it done, but played two competitive matches at the Grand Slam. So 39th. Who would have thought this going into the tournament? But it's Thiago Agustin Tirante, partially due to his just dominance in that first round against Alexander Vukic. Second round didn't really do too much, but I mean, the first round was such a dominant performance that it leads him to be 39th ranked in this. That kind of seemed maybe a little bit high for Tirante, but uh, they say numbers don't lie, so there you go. Tommy Paul also playing great tennis in this tournament. So yeah, Toronto 39th. 38th is going to be Jordan Thompson, who defeated Juan Manuel Cerúndolo in the first round, lost to Nuno Borges in the second round. I remember thinking before that Thompson Borges match that it could really go either way, especially if Thompson was healthy. He won that first set in the break for 11-9. I thought maybe that could be it, but Borges really locked in, was able to get the match. 37th and a disappointment, Stefanos Tsitsipas, 31 seed. Tough draw though. Had the first round win, pretty routine against Mochizuki, but then second round comes along, has to face Tomas Makic, who'd been playing great, had won. He won Auckland? I think it was Auckland. I think Makic ended up defeating Ugo Humbert in Auckland. It could have been um would it be Adelaide would be the other one? I forget. But he won the 250 tournament against Ugo Humbert in the week leading up to the Australian Open. And Tsitsipas has been someone that's been kind of hyped up recently, had that good result in the United Cup, had some good results in the United Cup, and played a competitive match, lost two tiebreakers out of the tournament, 37th for Tsitsipas. 36, Rinky Hijikata. There should be some scores on here. He's ranked 36, but that's not his scores. Let's see how he did. So Hijikata, first round Manarino in straights, very, very, very dominant performance, and then lost 1-6, sorry, 6-1, 6-3, 4-6, 6-2 to Valentin Vacherot in the second round. He's 36 ranked because of that dominant first round match. Next, 35th is going to be Marton Fucsovics. First round beat Ugo Carabelli. Good match. Ended up losing in straights to Alexander Bublik, leading 35th. 34th, Riley Opelka. Took care of Kier in the first round. Second round against Davidovich Fokina. Brought it to 5 sets, not able to get it done. Not too shabby for the big server. 33rd, how about this? Quentin Halys, good win against Sabilo in the first, and then played Medvedev competitively in the second round. Won that first set in a tiebreaker, lost the second set, and then the third and the fourth kind of got away from him. But Quentin Halys, 33rd ranked out of all Australian Open men's players. All right, 32nd, and the first player to win two matches in this tournament is going to be Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. So Davidovich Fokina defeated Misolic in the first, 5 set against Opelka in the second, and then just got destroyed by Tommy Paul, 6-1, 6-1 in the third, leaving him, this was a this was this was a blowout of a match. So yeah, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, 32nd. A little bit disappointing, I have to say. When the draw came out, I mean, this was the match we circled of the third round. You knew that this was going to be the case. Thought you'd maybe see a battle, but that's 5 straight sets that they've played in the Australian Open where it's been 6-1 to Paul. So maybe it's just a matchup thing, but who knows? 31st, one of the best stories of the tournament, Stan Wawrinka defeated Laszlo Djere in the first, defeated Arthur Gia in the second in 5 sets, one of the best matches of the tournament, and plays a quite good match against Taylor Fritz in the third round. First set tiebreaker. You think up, loses that. He's probably not going to do much rest of the match. What does he do? Comes back in the second set, wins it, forces, then goes to the third set, loses it in a close one, and then isn't able to get it done in the fourth. Stan Wawrinka, 31st ranked. And all in all, there was some talk before the tournament about, will he get a wild card, will he not? I thought it was always a no-brainer that he should get a wild card. I don't really understand people that say that he shouldn't. He's a multiple-time major champion. But whatever, whatever. 30th, Cam Norrie, good, first, second, didn't win him in straights or anything, not fully down performance, got the win though. Got a set against Zverev, nothing more. Leaves him 30th for Cam Norrie. Frances Tiafoe, First round, second round took care of business. Third round, De Minaur kind of had every answer for Tiafoe, leaving Tiafoe 29th ranked for the Australian Open. Nuno Borges, one of the best wins of the tournament, especially in the early rounds for Nuno Borges with his win over Felix. Good win in the second round versus a good player in Jordan Thompson. And then Winner Tien, that first that was critical for Tien to win that, especially for the match. Shortened the match for him. And Nuno Borges, ran into Tien and ended up losing. So 28th for Nuno Borges. 27th, Quarantine Mute. First, second rounds took care of business. Third round, I mean, that match was at points it felt like an exhibition, what Alcaraz and Mute were trying to do. Would I say it was entertaining? Like a little bit, but also it was just like it was the best word I would consider just it felt like unserious. Alcaraz, like there was no point at all where Alcaraz wasn't gonna win this match at any point before, during, or after the match. So 27th for Mute. 26th. How about this? Tomas Martin Etcheverry ranked 26th. I wouldn't have guessed that in the beginning of the tournament, but here we are. He defeated Kecmanovic in an awesome match in the first round. Ferry in the second match played Etcheverry dominated that game, and then forces two tiebreakers against Bublik in the first and second sets. Not too bad for Etcheverry, leading 26th ranked. 25th is going to be Botic van de Zandschulp. Good win, first round Nakashima. Good win, second round Jerry Shang. And played a relatively competitive match against Djokovic. Fourth set, third set tiebreaker wasn't able to get done. 25th for Botic. Now, Karen Khachanov, 24th. Disappointing for his standards, I would say. I feel like he tends to make fourth rounds of majors, and be in that top 16-ish for the in the world and also just like in majors specifically. I'd consider him a top 16 major player, especially on the hard courts. Good five-set win against Mickelson. Good second round, kind of took care of business against Basev already. And another surprising result for Darderi in defeating Khachanov in four sets. So props to Darderi, and yeah, Khachanov 24th. Vashero, uh, good first round, good second round. Third round comes along. Ben Shelton got some relatively competitive match, but wasn't. It was a relatively competitive match, but in the end, it Ben Shelton really had the Ben Shelton really ended up controlling the entire match, leaving Vashero 23rd. Rublev, 22nd, a little bit disappointing for him. Got Rinaldi Faria in the first, second round. You have to win those. And then in the third round, a match that he would have been favored in, he ended up losing to Cerundolo. Now, this wouldn't be as much of alarm bells if it was, a four-setter or even a five-setter. But the fact that it was in straight sets to Francisco Cerundolo is a little bit surprising and disappointing for Andre. 21st, and the first player I have ranked that won three matches in this. Yes, who won three matches in the tournament is Taylor Fritz. I was not impressed by Taylor Fritz at all in this tournament. And I would like to put the caveat of that obviously he was nursing at least one injury, maybe two injuries. So for the fact that he ended up even winning three matches, you do have to give him more than a little bit credit. You have to give him credit for that. Now, his path wasn't that strong. He defeated Royer in the first round, Kopriva in the second, and Stan in the third. It's not like, I mean, none of them were seeded players. And then, in the fourth round, in his loss, he played, I mean, Musetti dominated him. Musetti played so much better than Fritz the entire match and left, Fritz ended up leaving the tournament in the fourth round. Disappointing. I just expect more from Fritz, and I'm just gonna put this one up to injury, maybe even multiple injuries, is what happened this tournament for Fritz. So I have him 21st ranked, 20th ranked. Going back to players that won two matches in the tournament, lost in the third round is going to be Elliot Spitziri. One of the shocks, maybe upset of the first round. People forget the Joao Fonseca hype going into this tournament. It was subdued a little bit because of concerns on Fonseca's health, but Spitziri outclassed Fonseca, played incredible in this match. Good win in the second round against Yibing Wu. You went to five, and had to battle it out, and then comes back in the third set, absolutely firing, defeats Sinner in the first set, and then your second set comes around, and Of course, this is the match where Sinner ends up, starting to cramp and the whole controversy with the roof. I was really impressed with how Siri handled the whole situation. He wasn't yelling out at the chair umpire or anything like that. I feel like he really, kept his head, kept his composure, and played well. I think Spitzeri is going to be disappointed that he didn't win the set when Sinner was still cramping. I think he had opportunities to really take control of the match and force Sinner to have to win 2 or 3 sets in the final couple sets. But in the end, Sinner was able to the temperature cooled down. He was able to get his fitness back. And overall, yeah. I mean, overall, in general, very impressive tournament for Spizzeri, and he's definitely a candidate for breakout player of the tournament. 19th, Tomas Makic is ranked 19th. I mean, look at this run that he went on. Underrated run. Straight sets Dimitrov in the first, defeated Tsitsipas in the second, and then took Musetti to 5. And this is a Musetti who was in form, who was playing lights out, who was playing incredible. Took him to 5 sets. Very impressed by that. And that's the reason why I got Makic at 19th ranked. 18th is going to be Fabian Marozsan. Defeated seeded player Arthur Rinderknecht in the first round. Defeated Majak in straights in the second round. Third round comes around, wins the first 2 sets against Medvedev. Has Medvedev in trouble. Isn't able to finish out the match, but really impressed by this performance of Marozsan to really test Medvedev, a player who played well this tournament. We will get to him later, though. We will get to him actually right now because Medvedev, I have him ranked 17th in the tournament. Reason behind this is you look at the run in. De Jong, Hollis, good win. They're like he took care of business in the first, second round. Third round got very, very dicey. And the fourth round, the way he exited the tournament, there was so much hype for this tournament after last year's epic match between the two players. And it's probably just a matchup thing for Medvedev against Tien, but Tien just like absolutely dominated this match. And it's you expected more from Medvedev coming into this tournament. He got the monkey off his back of winning at a major, so that's good for him. It's not a total loss of a tournament for Medvedev, but yeah, would have liked to see a more competitive showing for Medvedev against Tien. 16th, going back to players who only won 2 games. Ethan Quinn, another very impressive showing for the youngster. He won the first round, straight sets for Griekspoor, dominated that match, and then defeated an in-form Hurkacz in the second. I mean, he went into that Mensik match with probably the best 2 combined wins of any players in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. Third round comes around, he forces 2 tiebreakers against Mensik, isn't able to get it done. I was really impressed with Ethan Quinn. I think he's got a big future. I think he's only going to rise as the year progresses. And 15th, I think this is going to come as a surprise to people because I think his tournament was kind of forgotten. But I want to give some credit to Marin Cilic. Um, all the the spotlight was put on Novak Djokovic and Stan Wawrinka, two of the older guys doing well at the tournament. How about Marin Cilic? First round goes 6-0, 6-0, and then wins the match to Altmaier. It's a good player on Altmaier. And then goes straight set Shapo like it's nothing. And then wins loses the first 2 sets against Rude, who's playing well. I know a lot of people were even thinking maybe Cilic could win this match. But anyway, wins that fourth set against Rude, forces a fourth set, plays 12 games in that fourth set, isn't able to get done. Look, he's a guy that can make a run at Slam still. So 15th for Marin Cilic. 14th, a little bit disappointing for Alexander Bublik, if not to say a lot of it disappointing. This was a dark horse for semifinal for some, dark horse for quarterfinal. He ended up losing the fourth round and kind of went out with a whimper. Had 3 good wins in the first 3 rounds, especially that third round against Etcheverry. Did go to 2 tiebreakers in the first 2 sets, but Etcheverry's playing very well, so I respect that win. Fourth round comes around, and yeah, de Minaur just um just dominated the match, and Bublik 14th ranked out of all men's players in the Australian Open this year. Now, who would have thought Luciano Darderi would be 13th before the tournament? Sneaky run for him. Garin in the first, good win. Baez second. Baez playing some great tennis as of late. Kachanov, the the consistent slam guy, Kachanov, Darderi gets him in four. And then yeah, he doesn't play. I mean, Darderi center on hard courts. What do we expect? We expect three sets. Impressive showing for Darderi, 13th ranked for him. 12, Jakub Mensik, a, s- a sneaky what if of the tournament. There's a lot of what ifs in this tournament, I feel. Um, but this is definitely one where, Jakub Mensik, battled in the first round, and you think, will this take a toll on him? Will it take a toll on his body? Obviously, it probably did end up taking a toll on his body. But then his second and third round were really, really good results. Yodar in the second round in straights, Ethan Quinn in the third round in straights, and then that would have been in worst case an interesting match versus Novak Djokovic. Mensik serve power, could keep him in games and keep him in matches. So so yeah, I would have loved to see this match happen. Sadly, it wasn't able to happen. He, has the interesting distinction of one of the few players to have not lost a match at this Australian Open. Part of that's the reason why I have him 12th. I don't really see an argument to really put him any higher than 12th. He had a relatively impressive showing, and that first round win was big for him to win a five setter. 11th, Francisco Cerundolo, a good tournament for him. Got triple Z in the first, second round, straight sets against Zoomer. Third round, good win. Just simple, good win against Andrei Rublev in that third round. And fourth round, Zverev gets him. Uh, yeah, just, I mean, he took care of business. The reason why he's 11th is because of that win against Rublev in the third round in straights, not because of any performance besides that, really. And it leaves Cerundolo in 11th. Now into the top 10. How about Casper Ruud? Casper Ruud, first round match against Bellucci, wins in straights. Munar in straights, very impressive performance, defeating Cilic. I feel like Ruud was always on upset watch, and he kept winning. And then you get to that Shelton Ruud match, and all of a sudden he's the one that could be performing the upset. Wins that first set, but then Shelton locks in, gets it done. Casper Ruud 10th. Tommy Paul. Now, this is one that if he had a different draw, if he didn't have to face Alcaraz in the fourth round, I wonder how far he would have went because he was playing absolutely lights out. Kovacevic in straights, Tirante in straights, Davidovich Fokina in straights. He enters that fourth round not dropping a set, no sets going into tiebreaker, and then that first set happens, very competitive set, and Alcaraz ends up winning the set. I think if Paul were to win that set, I mean, obviously the entire match would change, would have been different. I wonder what would have happened, but even more so, I think Alcaraz would have won the match anyway. But what would have happened if Paul had to face a Zverev in the fourth round instead, faced a Medvedev in the fourth round? I think he might have won, faced a Casper Ruud. I don't know. I mean, some of those aren't possible due to where he is ranked and stuff like that. But like, you know, a match. Here's my point. I would have loved to see a Tommy Paul Lorenzo Musetti fourth round match. I think that would have been both players playing absolutely fantastic, and I would have been very curious to see who would have won that. He ran into Alcaraz at the wrong time, and to be honest, fourth round, which is crazy to say, it's got to be disappointing for Tommy Paul how well he played this tournament. Ben Shelton, he is going to be, so from here on out, we're going to be talking all quarterfinalists. Ben Shelton is going to be the lowest ranked of the quarterfinalists. His run in first round match was very difficult against Ugo and Bear. A lot of people were thinking that he might be able to spring an upset in that one. But Shelton got the job done in a very competitive match. Dane Sweeney took care of business there. Vashro took care of business. Very good performance from Ben in that Vashro match. And Ruud, had a little bit of a hiccup in that first, but took care of business. Now it's just that Shelton Sinner matchup. Like it's just it causes issues for Shelton. Sorry, causes issues for Shelton, and he kind of just went out of the tournament with a little bit of a whimper, leading Ben Shelton to be eighth. Now, seventh is going to be Lerner TN. So Lerner. I love the Lerners tournament. I mean, battles in the first against Hero. Shevchenko he gets, Borges he gets in the third. He dominates the fourth, and he plays a good quarterfinal against Zverev. That second set was such a fun set of tennis. He just wasn't able to back that up in the third set. His level drops, Zverev's level maybe increased a little bit, and that third set was disappointing. If he would have played the fourth set in the third set, the entire match would have been different. I would have loved to see a tiebreaker and that level in the third set because then you got scoreboard pressure and stuff. Tien could have won this match if things felt differently for him. If he played a little bit better, he had chances. He wasn't able to take it. Winner Tien, seventh. Now, this next one might be a huge shock, but this is just, in my opinion, where he should be ranked. Coming in at number six is Alexander Zverev. Yes, the guy that was just a couple games away from making the final and maybe even winning the tournament. My argument for Alexander Zverev in the coming in at number six is partially due to his path. Diallo tough first round, but got it done. Mueller again, solid second round. Cam Norrie, solid third rounds. They're all like, you know, they're tough. Saroon's little fourth round, whatever. He's taking care of business. He's losing a set here, set there, but all the matches, he's taking care of business. That Tien match, he played well. That's his best. I mean, obviously, this is actually maybe not obviously, but in my opinion, that was probably his best win in the tournament. The way Tien had been playing, he really was playing at a very high level, and for Zverev to get that match, very, very impressive. Now, the reason why he is sixth is partially due to the performances of the players that come in fifth and fourth in the rankings. One of them is it's obviously, I'll save it for when we get there, but I'll explain it more when we get to those. My biggest issue with Zverev is that match against Carlos Alcaraz. So, look, he plays like first set, Alcaraz got some, second set tiebreaker, but Alcaraz got some. Okay, third set, it's 4-all before Alcaraz, really starts cramping, really starts to show the cramps, and as his level is affected by the cramps. Obviously, he was affected earlier than that, but at no point when watching that match did I think that Carlos Alcaraz was going to lose that match. Maybe Zverev was going to get the third in a tiebreaker or something, but Alcaraz was going to find a way. My biggest issue is that I think that Zverev, like once Alcaraz, because you have two parts of the match. You have before Alcaraz starts cramping, and you have after Alcaraz starts cramping, and then you have the fifth set. So three parts. Okay. The fact that Alcaraz forced a tiebreaker in the third and a tiebreaker in the fourth is simply inexcusable, in my opinion, for Alexander Zverev. Alcaraz could barely move. Zverev, for him to win this match, he needed to take the third and the fourth in shorter time so then it would cause Alcaraz to not be able to recover quick enough in that fifth set. And it's also further to note that Zverev had the match on his racket in the fifth set against an Alcaraz that was not 100%, was probably 80, 90%. He let Alcaraz back into this performance. I feel like Zverev played down to his opponent. I know it's crazy to say for Alcaraz because he played Alcaraz, but he played down to his opponent in the third, fourth, and fifth sets. Even in that fifth set, I mean, you can argue about this, but I thought Zverev I mean, Zverev was definitely the better player in third and fourth. Fifth is an argument, but Zverev should have won this match. The fact Alcaraz won this match is an absolute Houdini act. And that's really why I have Zverev in sixth place because he doesn't have too many like blockbuster wins. Besides Tien was the best one. Cerundo was a good result and stuff. Nori, whatever. But yeah, I have Alcaraz sixth, and I'll explain a little bit more when we get to five and four. Fifth, Lorenzo Musetti. Now, this one is a heartbreaker. This one is quite easy, in my opinion, to argue over Zverev. He was he, I mean, he defeated, first, second round was good, whatever. Quite comparable to Zverev's in the first and second round. Third round, very good win against Makic, player that's very in form. So yeah, impressive five setter. And then domination in the fourth round in Fritz. I mean, he played five straight dominant sets between the Musetti Fritz match and the Musetti Djokovic match. And I mean, Musetti, as Djokovic himself said, Musetti was going to win this match. There is very little doubt in my mind that he was going to. Worst case, he was a 90% favorite to win this match against Djokovic, and you have to give credit to that. He absolutely frustrated Djokovic, and he played such a good match. Those two sets were two of the most impressive sets that I watched out of any player in the tournament, and because of that, I have him ranked ahead of Zverev. And also, like further to say is that I'll do some quick math real quick. How many sets did Musetti lose? He lost. We'll technically say one against Djokovic, two against Makic, one against Collignon, so that's four total, and Zverev ended up losing one to Diallo, two to Mueller, or one to Mueller, so that's two total, three, four, five, six. So yeah, I mean, you played one extra match, but yeah, I mean, the sets lost were similar. Disappointing for Musetti. He should have been a semifinalist this tournament, and very sad. And hope for a speedy recovery for Musetti, because he's someone that's so much fun to watch, especially when he's on. And the fact that he did this year on the hard courts, um, his potential is very very high. Also, I'd like to mention that if Musetti were up to win this match against Djokovic, that he was really looking like he was going to, he would have been third in the world ahead of Alexander Zverev. Not that that's important to this ranking. I just wanted to mention that. And now my fourth ranked player is Alex de Minaur. This is a very simple case. He was absolutely dominant in every single match this tournament, except against Alcaraz. And you might argue, oh, Zverev played five sets against Alcaraz. Um, you know, Zverev lost the first two sets to Alcaraz, to a healthy Alcaraz. De Minaur lost the first two sets to a healthy Alcaraz. Was Zverev a little bit closer to winning the first two sets against a healthy Alcaraz? Yes, he was. Was he close? Did he end up winning a third set against? Did he keep a third set close against a healthy Alcaraz? Yes. Did he end up winning against a injured Alcaraz? He won the third set. He won the fourth set. He didn't win the fifth set against against an injured Alcaraz. He barely won the third and the fourth sets against an injured Alcaraz in the breakers. My argument for de Minaur is that he had a more dominant first, second, third, and fourth round than Zverev did. And simply he had a worse draw and had to play an Alcaraz a round earlier. I think if de Minaur would have faced literally anyone besides Alcaraz and probably Sinner probably defeats him too. I think a de Minaur Djokovic probably gets him, but who knows? I think if de Minaur would have played Zverev this tournament, I mean, who knows what would have happened? That's not why I'm ranking de Minaur fourth ahead of him, but de Minaur had an incredible tournament. I want to give credit to that. I'm not going to give credit to. I think his first four matches were such fantastic performances, and that the quarterfinal loss to Alcaraz for de Minaur and the semifinal loss for Zverev against Alcaraz are relatively comparable. And that might be a crazy thing to say, but that's just my opinion. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear arguments against it as well. But I really was not impressed with how Zverev tried to close out the third, fourth, fifth sets of that Alcaraz match. Now, third is going to be Jannik Sinner. No surprise at all. Lost in the semifinal. No hiccups at all, except for Spizzirri leading up. I mean, took care of business first, second round. Spizzirri, I mean, look, that was more than a hiccup. That was like, there was like a 30-minute window when you're like, wait a second, is Sinner going to be eliminated from the tournament? What does that mean for the rest of the Australian Open? Yada, yada, yada. And then what does Sinner do? Literally what he does best. He bounces back and, Darderian straights, Shelton straights. Um, and then that Djokovic result, look, all credit to Djokovic. He played all of the clutch points incredibly. Sinner was just like, he was chipping away. He was so close to breaking at certain points and then just wasn't able to get it done. That's like, look, did Sinner, like Djokovic just played, like he just turned back the clock and pulled a rabbit out of his hat for that semifinal game. There's plenty of things Sinner probably could have done better or whatever. I'm sure you can look at like 10 of the break points he missed and be like, oh, why don't you just, do this, do that. The biggest thing that I want to say about Jannik Sinner's game right now is the lack of variety. I think it's something that he's talked about in the past about working on it. But like, dude, if he had a drop shot, bro, it would change like literally his game so much. He needs to start implementing that more and more and more. So yeah, he's third. I think it's a clear third for Jannik Sinner. Second, no surprise, Novak Djokovic get a little bit lucky in this. I mean, there's no argument for anyone else than Novak Djokovic. That semifinal result against Sinner is literally one for the record books. An incredible, incredible performance. And he also played well in the final. Very competitive. That first set was lights out from Djokovic. And then, the fourth set played competitive. He could have won that and just lost. He, instead of against Sinner winning the break points, he ended up losing the break points that he needed to win. And he had some break opportunities, wasn't able to get it done anyway. First, second, third round, easy. Fourth round, I would have loved to see that match against Bencic. His worst match by far was against Musetti. Musetti just like outfoxed him. He played very, very smart against Djokovic. And I agree with Djokovic that he was on his way home if Musetti didn't get injured. Heartbreaking fashion. Reminiscent of the Dimitrov Center Wimbledon 2025. Also kind of reminiscent of, to a certain extent, I think it was 2022 Roland Garros when Zverev twisted his ankle, ended up breaking his ankle. That was earlier in the match, but Zverev's playing like lights out in that tournament too. Those three are three matches that all remind me of each other. But yeah, going back to Djokovic, excellent tournament for him. Second place, very good. And lastly, Carlos Alcaraz is going to be the obviously number one. When you look at the hiccups, I mean, he didn't lose a set until that Zverev match. He looked really in control throughout the entire tournament. Uh, his most impressive matches were against, I mean, fourth round on, just so impressive. I mean, they get a little bit more impressive too. Like straight sets against Paul, who'd been playing lights out, like incredible, and then does the same thing against De Minaur. Like it's like he's playing in the first or like second round. Like that, it's disrespectful to say that against the players that he is, because De Minaur and Tommy Paul are fantastic players, but facing Alcaraz this tournament, that's what he made. That's what the scoreline looks like at the end of the day. Straight sets, got it done. Semifinal, he was cruising on his way to the Australian Open final until this big first speed bump of the tournament. And that was probably the most impressive match I've ever seen from Carlos Alcaraz. The ability to, I know I was talking about, it was bad that Zverev let Alcaraz back into the match, especially in tiebreakers. The fact that Alcaraz, dude, in the third set and the fourth set, Alcaraz could barely move, and he still forced him into tiebreakers. Like incredible, the mental toughness of him and the overall. I love how in this post match he said that the only way he won the match was because of his belief. And I mean, you can just see that when he plays tennis. He always believes, and I think that's what makes him so great. And then in the final, after the first set, just played flawlessly. So yeah, Carlos Alcaraz is number one ranked player in the men's Australian Open this season. So yeah, so that's all the players ranked, men's players in the Australian Open 2026, ranked from 128th to first. Couple surprises, Zverev at six might be a little crazy, but I think I have a pretty good argument for it. Um, yeah, but yeah, there you go. That's 2026 Australian Open all wrapped up.